Hopefully, you guys can hear me. If you can hear me loud and clear, welcome back. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I am your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. Some of the things we're going to talk about today, first and foremost, whatever you guys want to talk about. If there's any true crime cases you want us to look into or get my opinion on or bring attention to, maybe a missing person, maybe something that's personal to you, something you've been following that's maybe not so high profile. We can talk about that. We can talk about political news. We could talk about world news, anything that you guys want to bring up. But the items that I plan to talk about, of course, will be the updates on the anti-ICE shooter there in Dallas, Texas. Apparently, they found some notes while serving a search warrant. He doesn't seem to belong to any groups. He's just one of these gamers and more Discord, people on Discord. I'm not a big fan of Discord. I have one for my members only. It's a members only Discord, but I'm not part of any other Discord. They're cesspools, really. A lot of true crime begins right there. A lot of grooming, a lot of predatorial behavior, a lot of stalking, a lot of doxing, a lot of misinformation happens in the Discord server. Also, they're trying to get a message out to the public in regards to Travis Decker, saying that the human remains that they found have not been confirmed through DNA yet. So we don't know. We don't want to assume, but there have been reports kind of circulating that these remains were confirmed as Travis Decker. From the reports that I was reading this morning, that's not accurate. And then I wanted to do a case highlight. It's something that we're going to do in the future as well, quite often. But today's case highlight, I want it to be Evansdale, the Evansdale murders. I want to talk about Flora, the Flora fires that happened in Indiana. And then we'll also talk about Emily Pike's case here in Arizona, because that kind of segues in what you can expect in the future from my channel. I'm actually going to be heading out there to the crime scene and going out to the San Carlos Reservation and hopefully meeting up with the investigators there and interviewing them and giving you a tour of where she grew up. And then also we're going to hit the crime scene and give you guys a closer look of the area where they found her body scattered on the side of a highway. Also, we're going to talk about the future of the Sleuth Intuition channel. We got something, I call it a project. It's a bit of a little pet project, but it's for you, all the subscribers and the viewers, especially you subscribers and members that have been with me from the beginning. Most of you are Midwesterners. Some of you are from here in Phoenix, and some of you have been through here. But I wanted to do something fun for you guys, like a hit the streets tour, right? Go hit these areas here in Phoenix that get very busy when it comes to the nightlife, clubs, the bar scene, and just kind of mingle with the folks and talk to them about true crime. Maybe allow you guys to even talk with them, ask questions. You can call into the channel live and ask these people out on these streets, these strangers, questions, or just mingle with them. I plan to ask just some very strange questions, like if you were in a scary movie, would you, if you were in a horror movie or a slasher film, would you make it to the end? Things like that. Just, keeping it friendly and nothing too serious. One that I was thinking of as well was if we're standing in a crowded area, ask somebody like, hey, out of all the people standing around us, who looks like a serial killer? And I thought it would be funny for people just to start pointing at random people, like, oh, well, he looks like a serial killer. And then I'm going to pull out like the Rorschach, the little ink blots, and I'm going to ask them what they see. So, and you guys can just throw out random shit too, like as the viewer. Be like, hey, ask him this, or let's do this, or hey, let's try that. Just kind of catch them by surprise, like, hey, quick, who's your favorite serial killer? Stuff like that. It's going to be really fun. And really, we're just going to kind of walk around. I'm going to give you a tour. We're going to start with downtown, the historic area of downtown Gilbert. It gets wild on the weekends. It looks like fucking downtown New York. And everybody's been drinking. They're drunk. They're dancing. So I think it's going to be funny to ask these folks some true crime questions. It's going to be hilarious. What's up, Phil? If you're just joining us, what you can expect on my end. But first off, we can talk about any case that you want to. We can talk about political news, world news, any missing person cases that you think you might want highlighted. Some maybe not so high profile cases that you would like to see get some more attention. Yeah, let me know in the comments. You can email me at sleuthintuition@gmail.com to assist. I'll pull it up on the screen. If you would like to join me live, I could drop a link there for you, and then you can share it on your own. You can put all the documents and images. Once you're in the studio with me, you can literally take control. And once I give you permission, you can kind of throw up your documents and anything that you think should be made public. And on my end, you're going to get some ice shooter updates. We'll have a discussion on that. Apparently, he left some notes. They were found during a search warrant. There's some news, something they're trying to get out to the public in regards to Travis Decker. Remember, recently they went back in there. They shut down the park. And get this. This is how they found that information. The reason they shut down the park was they were using a drone, very similar to the Sleuth Crew drone. And I'm also registered with the AI that they're using, but my free membership ran out. But you can actually, I can get the same AI software that they're using, or I can even send out the video that's taken with the drone, and they can use that AI software. And what it does is it finds anything out of the ordinary, any colors that aren't natural, any shapes that aren't natural. It highlights it. It can even kind of like see through the trees somewhat. It's very predictive. Well, that's the same stuff that they used. I was trying to use this on the Daniel Robinson case, but I was unable to. I was unable. The footage, it was just so high def. I think it was like 10K or something. It just took up all the memory on my computer. Couldn't even fucking process it. But if I could, I would run it through the AI and let it do its thing. That's what they did out there in Washington with Travis Decker. They found something out of the ordinary after running it through this AI. And then they went back out there and actually found human remains. I think yesterday or the day before, somebody was reporting that it was 100% Travis Decker. And that kind of was like a brush fire. A report that I received this morning, because I opted in to receive the notifications from that website, and they say no, that the remains have not been confirmed via DNA yet. It's most likely them, but we don't have any confirmation. I mean, you never know. Travis Decker could have killed somebody, redressed him in his clothes, taken his vehicle, his or her vehicle, and all the way across, the United States by now. Or it's most likely him, right? So we're going to talk about that. Those are the things you can expect. We got some merch in. So if you guys are interested in getting some merch, you can see it over the back, my right shoulder there. We have gray hoodies, black hoodies, black, white, and gray t-shirts. That's it. And if you're interested, just email me. Just email me and I'll tell you how to get it. Good to see you, Phil Bond. Dark Side. Is a wave pool in the desert there? We actually do have a wave pool. Golfland, Sunsplash, Big Surf. We got a couple wave pools. I think we have an indoor one too in Mesa, I believe. The hell's the name of that? I think I went there once as a kid. It's pretty cool. A couple wave pools. Sensei, I maybe wouldn't ask who looks like a serial killer. That kind of thing could go bad quick. Oh, don't worry, I'm doing it. It's gonna happen. What's up, Pitbull? Good to see you. I ordered takeout the other night and used my Google account, and it showed up on the app as Sensei Wackadoodle. That was quite interesting when I answered the door. Did they go, yes, Sensei?
We do not train to be merciful here. Mercy is for the weak. Here, on the street, in competition.
Here on the street and in competition. Yeah, they better bow. Okay, so like I said, throughout the live stream, whatever you guys want to talk about, shoot me an email, let me know in the chat if there's a case you want to look at. But we're going to start with the ice shooter, Travis Decker, Evansdale, Flora, and the Emily Pike case. And then we'll talk about the project that I'm working on here for the channel. And then we'll end with showing you a little bit of the merch that we just got in. But first, let's start with the note that was found. So we're basically a summary of what is publicly known about the shooter's notes in the Dallas ICE attack. So the shooter left behind a collection of handwritten notes in his home. One note read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror. To think, is there a sniper with an armor-piercing round on that roof? Question mark." Another note said, "Yes, it was just me." So basically saying he worked alone. The notes included a game plan for the attack, outlining target areas in the facility and the intent to maximize lethality against ICE personnel while doing property damage. The shooter described ICE employees disparagingly, referring to them as people showing up to collect a dirty paycheck. He expressed hatred for the federal government generally. The shooter indicated he did not intend to kill or harm detainees, though tragically victims included detainees. His focus was on ICE agents and personnel. He also seemed to understand he wouldn't survive the attack based on his writings. It was a suicide note. Perfect. Thank you, Sensei. Yeah, that's all I did. I went and reset the modem. I think China was hacking me. Israel was hacking me. Okay, so that's really all the news in reference to the ice shooter. Let me pull up the news with Travis Decker. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Eminem. Mom spaghetti. Arms are heavy. What's going on, Jerry? So we got Jerry, Sensei, Eminem in the building. We got Dark Side. Who we missing? And then we got Phil Bond. Ooh, J Ray just popped in. What up, J Ray? How far in or out of the search area did they find these remains, Sleuth? I know they said they were in the vicinity where the girls were killed, if I'm remembering right. I'm not exactly sure. I'm looking through articles right now. I have the AP up right now saying DNA testing underway on remains believed to be Travis Decker. That was 6 days ago. Today, on people.com, coroner, and this is the one that I have, one of the ones that I received an email from because I have my notifications for that. People.com. Coroner clears up misconceptions about Travis Decker's remains as questions remain. So I think we should start there. Now, if I start sharing my screen and it gets all functified, let me know. So functified. What you guys know about that? I already get emails. All right. Coroner clears up misconceptions about Travis Decker's remains by Angel Saunders. This is people.com. What's up, Hiawatha? Good to see you. Okay, so it looks like she started here with quotations. We must rely on scientific methods to establish positive identification, was the Chelan County coroner Wayne Harris said of the investigation. All right, so what do we need to know? Travis Decker has not been confirmed dead by local authorities despite the U.S. Marshal Service considering him deceased. So it kind of reminds me of the Delphi murders. Remember, they were searching for two young girls. They found two deceased girls. It's obviously Abby and Libby, but there is a chance that it's not, right? Maybe we have other victims that haven't been pronounced missing. So they had to rely on scientific methods, positive identification. But it seems like the U.S. Marshals were like, nah, we're good. It's him. The 32-year-old became the subject of a nationwide manhunt after being accused of killing his three young daughters during a planned visitation. Yeah, this story broke my heart. Because when you read the details of what happened to Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, you can't help but think that Travis must have been completely out of his mind. Like, how could somebody do that? But the truth is, psychopaths. I mean, I haven't heard anybody give us a really, really precise explanation of what's going on with them. At least the sadistic ones, right? The ones that fantasize about murder, things like that. So they kill some. I was watching a case the other day. The name slips my mind. But a woman, she had a new boyfriend and she had a young daughter with some health issues. I think she was mentally disabled to a degree. And was causing some friction between her relationship with her new boyfriend. They lived together, they moved in, and he couldn't really couldn't handle the young girl. Apparently she would kind of yell out and have violent spouts, things like that. And he was telling his girlfriend, the mother of this young girl, hey, you need to get certain help, you need to get with a doctor, like she needs attention. So her way of getting the child attention was to kill her and then also kill her father who was helping to raise the young girl in order to continue on with this relationship and to not upset the boyfriend. And he had absolutely nothing to do with it. This just happened to be a sadistic psychopath's idea of a solution, right? They were just trash. That's how these compartmentalized killers can kill people, dismember them, throw their bodies on the side of a highway, and then go back to work at CVS as the relief manager or assistant manager, I should say. Okay, Travis Decker has been declared dead by the U.S. Marshal Service, but local authorities are not fully backing the federal agency's claim just yet. Shortly after the 32-year-old missing father of 3 was declared dead by the U.S. Marshal Service on Wednesday, September 24th, Chelan County Coroner Wayne Harris shared a statement with People in an effort to clear up some confusion and mitigate the numerous phone calls and emails that his office had received in connection with the case. Now, this is all in quotations here. Other agencies can speak about their investigation into Mr. Decker and locating human remains, and can state that based on circumstantial evidence that the remains located are his, the coroner said. The Chelan County Coroner's Office does not have that luxury. We must rely on scientific methods to establish positive identification. Those methods include DNA, fingerprints, dental or skeletal radiographs, or visual identification. You know, maybe like an X-ray or a CAT scan, something like that. Dental X-rays, even maybe. Thank you, Sensei. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like button. Bunch of scrubs. I'm too good for the like button. I don't hit it unless you're really amazing. I know your type. Let's see. Pitbull, there is no relationship with going that far. The degree of crazy is off the chain. Yeah, that's why it's so scary. We're living amongst these people that are insane. Another case I was reading the other day, a young man, his family had no clue, but all he did was fantasize about killing joggers. He wanted to kill a jogger, and it had to be with a knife. So he literally one day the day he got fired. Remember, most of these crazy crimes are preceded by a stressful event, like being fired, bankruptcy, divorce. Your wife is cheating on you. It's just the trigger that they needed, the little push they needed to do what they were eventually going to do anyway. So this young man, nobody saw it coming, completely compartmentalized. Probably seemed a little off, a little nerdy, geeky, as some people refer to it as. But one day he lost his job, went and sat down on a trail, just like Richard Allen did. This beautiful woman starts jogging by. He doesn't even have a conversation with her. He has a conversation in his own mind with like some kind of a demonic force. But lots of times these psychopaths create that idea of a demonic presence, right? Yeah, I didn't do it. It was the devil that did it. But then it makes you wonder, what if there really is this demonic force, because that's something I've seen consistently across the board with sadistic psychopathic killers. But for whatever reason, he's having this conversation with himself inside his own mind, and how he's going to be rejected by this woman, and how he could never have her. She's probably married, has kids. Like, he could never go and speak with her. So therefore, he's just going to go get the control back. These were his words. I could not help but think about Richard Allen and what happened to Abby and Libby relating to the Delphi murders. It was like listening to what Richard Allen wanted to say. He was just he talked about how when he just shoved the knife in, and he talked about how easy it went in and how easy it was to kill, and how he just didn't care. He got away with this for like 4 years and said, you know what? I just wanted to turn myself in. He didn't shed any tears. But the truth is, jail, for a psychopath, jail doesn't sound that bad, right? They are pussies and they prefer easy targets. So they're probably the thing that they're worried about is being sexually assaulted or beaten up in prison. But as far as like not having a career, having somebody bring you a meal, not having to worry about where you're going to sleep at night. They live that very parasitic lifestyle. So that whole part of it sounds wonderful. That's all they really wanted anyway. That's why they're going around manipulating everybody around them so they can do the things that they want and have no authority kind of beaming down upon them like some kind of heat lamp. So they get rid of the heat lamp and they don't care how they do it. Murder is always on the table for these crazies. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about. J Ray, who you calling a scrub? I'm calling anybody that didn't hit the like button so far is a scrub. And you're hanging out of the passenger side of your best friend's ride and you're trying to holler at me. Don't do that. Sensei, sounds like the cops are hoping it's him and the coroner are saying until they can verify the identity, they're not running on theories. Yep. They're just saying it's not official yet. Nothing is official at the moment. Is it most likely him? Yes. It looks like him. It's probably him. He's wearing the same clothes. But, wait till we run the DNA. Let us get the results of the DNA. Let's get, whatever we need to scientifically verify it. And then put it out to the public. But for whatever reason, the U.S. Marshals were like, nah, that's him. Pitbull. Oh, what's up, Scorpio? What up? What up? Looks like we got some people stumbling in like a bunch of hobos here. We got Scorpio, CJK. We got Fishy. We got the big fish in a small pond. Special vac testing is newer, and I believe 3 are the ones who are paying for the testing, not the state. Yeah, that vac stuff is impressive. Where they can kind of shake everything up and basically test what's in the air. I can't wait till the technology gets even better. I just feel like it should be mandatory for all of these cold cases. They should just be in order, in line to be tested and run through CODIS. And even the ancestral stuff. They should be able to. I mean, why not? Just going to forget about all these unsolved cases? Yeah, don't go chasing waterfalls. Don't do that. And also, don't creep. You don't want to creep. Scorpio says, I just saw a Damien Eccles interview today. No wonder celebrities got so invested in him. The guy is a complete manipulator, narcissistic, charismatic, with that cult leader charisma. He's so full of bullshit. Yeah, he's very Machiavellian too. So for him to be released from prison, in his mind, it was all part of his plan. And his black magic did work. All of these rituals and all of the evil that he did, even killing those young children, he believes was justified for his destiny, or the destiny that he's demanded through his daddy Satan. What up? What up? Keep it on a down low, long as you know. Yeah, you don't want to go chasing waterfalls, and if you do, you are a creep, and you want to keep it on the down low at that point, because we don't want no scrubs. You know what I'm saying? That was a recent interview. Let's take a look. Is it the Oz True Crime podcast? Let me see. Looks like it might be a YouTube content creator here that interviewed him. Dr. Oz, no. Yeah, Dr. Oz. Says 2 months ago.
It's really, really hard to describe.
What was your life like before this all started, before the arrest, before the accusation?
He's got runes all over his neck and shit. He just looks like a wizard. Let me share my screen over here. There you go. Life after death row. Let's see. Damian Eccles, one of West Memphis 3, appeared on the Oz True Crime podcast to discuss his life after nearly 19 years on death row. In this interview, he delves into the psychological and spiritual challenges he faced during his incarceration and how he rebuilt his life afterward. The conversation also touches on the broader issue of wrongful convictions and the impact of the justice system on individuals. Yeah, I don't know if I can play any of this. Let's see.
I was living here in New York, and there's a film series at MoMA called New Directors, New Films. And I'm
State of consciousness that we call enlightenment.
So as you look back on the 20 years,
He's like, wait a minute. Are you the real Oz? Like the Oz? Like the Wizard of Oz, right?
Of the West. It is the Western path to the state of consciousness that we call enlightenment.
so as you
In and of itself.
ceremonial magic,
Ceremonial magic.
meditation, is
It
it
is.
incense?
It's really what it comes down to. It's like the yoga of the West. It is the Western path to the state of consciousness that we call enlightenment.
So as you
Interesting. Ceremonial magic. Interesting. Those types always get the supporters, unfortunately. Let me tell you why, CJK. Some people, and you always hear me say it, some people are susceptible to the manipulation of sadistic psychopaths. And let me tell you why. Because some people can cry, they can fake cry, and some of you out there will fall for it. They can act, they can do all these weird things, right? They can change their behavior. They can switch it on a dime. And people who don't really understand that behavior or they don't have a real grasp on it. Like we don't have a grasp on it, but we can see it, right? We're trying to learn about it. But there's some people that they have no clue that this even exists. These personality disorders like narcissism, and that's how they're able to take advantage of people through this manipulation, because some people, they just don't see it. And it's not that they're dumb, it's not that they're ignorant, it's not that they're low IQ, it's just for whatever reason they lack possibly that artistic imagination of putting yourself in the shoes of a bad man, right? That's what we do all day in true crime. That's part of the criminology. But we also have to be able to do it with the victimology. You put yourself into the shoes of the victim. What was the victim doing? What, who were their friends? What was their lifestyle? High risk or low risk? You have to do the same thing with the killer. Who was he? Did they live a high risk, low risk? What does the crime scene tell us? We have to do this, attempt to do the same thing with the victim and the perpetrator. In my opinion, if we want to try to figure it out, I think once we do that with these cases, you can kind of start to see a picture form. You kind of start to get a real idea of what's going on. But you have to look into, and you have to go through the process. Hi, Watha. Sleuth, I don't want to disrupt your plans on the live, but here you heard about the similarities between the movie Snake Eyes and Charlie Kirk's assassination. Yes, we're doing a lot of crowdsourcing today. So as you noticed, Scorpio mentioned the Dr. Oz Damien Eccles interview. So we checked it out. Now Hiawatha is saying similarities between the movie Snake Eyes and Charlie Kirk's assassination. Talk about the predictive programming. Well, I do believe in predictive programming, but I also believe in trying to fit a square peg into the round hole, trying to make things fit where they don't. Also, if you're looking for something, all right, let's say Charlie Kirk's murder was a conspiracy. So now everything in the world is for your picking. You get to find all of the cherries that are falling from anything. And if you can tie it into Charlie Kirk's murder, boom, there it is. Snake Eyes, the movie Snake Eyes. Look, not even the same name, right? They even said, because he puts his hands like this. Like that. I put my hands like that. I was literally doing it before you even said that. That's how I have my hands right now. So I don't know. I do believe in predictive programming, specifically when it comes to 9/11 and what happened there. Also, what happened with the Iraq War, what happened with the quote unquote insurrection, all of that stuff. What's up, Growing Crazy? Hey, Sleuth, I have a question about West Memphis 3. I am new to that case, trying to learn. Did they do a rape kit on those 3 sweet victims that you know of? I'm not sure. Yes, it says here rape kits and sexual assault evidence were collected in the West Memphis 3 case, but the handling and testing of that evidence was limited and controversial. So the original investigation, of course, was 1993. So law enforcement collected physical evidence from the scene and from the bodies, including clothing and biological samples. At the time, DNA testing was not as advanced, and much of the evidence could not definitively link anyone to the crime, let alone the suspects. But in later DNA testing, years later, after advances in DNA technology, evidence was retested. I think 2007 through 2011, I'm not mistaken. New DNA testing on the clothing found, male DNA that did not match any of the West Memphis 3. DNA testing was done on hair and fibers. Some of this DNA matched Terry Hobbs, who is the stepfather of one of the victims, which is why a lot of people use that to say that the West Memphis 3 are innocent and that we should be looking towards Terry Hobbs. And that's the foundation of him as a viable suspect for some folks. I don't say that he's not involved, but I'm not going to put too much in the fact that they found his DNA where it should be and his past. Yeah, it could be relevant, but the truth is, does he have a nexus to the crime scene? What's his alibi? And things along those lines. But I definitely don't have blockers or blinders or tunnel vision when it comes to Terry Hobbs. But no conclusive evidence of sexual assault was ever confirmed. And the rape kits weren't a major part of the case. What about now, right? Scorpio rising. He even admits to doing rituals before prison and during prison. Yeah, that's crazy. Let me see. Let me go a little bit further. So maybe we'll do a little reactionary portion of this live stream. You hear that? Reactionary.
There's almost no medical care, no dental care. They're not going to spend a lot of time and money and energy taking me 2 or 3 inches in front of my face without these glasses, and they called the hole, and do it anymore.
You're exhausted, finished.
In every way that you can be exhausted.
There was no DNA evidence, just to be clear with everybody. No DNA evidence. There's no witnesses to connect Damien to the crime. Many have called this a real-life witch hunt.
As he sits next to an actual witch. A male witch. I mean, he looks like a fucking sorcerer. Let's go a little bit further down. I want to hear about these rituals he's mentioning. Is it at the beginning or the end?
We have gone.
Yeah. Probably going to get hit with a fucking copyright strike. Have to pull up the transcript on that. Let's see. There's the transcript. Now I'm just searching for ritual. Interesting. Ritual is the other half to spiritual. Interesting. Nope, nothing. Let me catch up on the chat here. Christine, what's going on? It's that one interview. He definitely can sell people that didn't research the evidence into believing he's innocent. Also, there's this thing that's annoying about people who interview accused killers or just people who are accused of being involved in a crime. Just because you're interviewing this person doesn't mean that you have to become best friends with them, right? There's no reason for you just to be sticking up for them during the interview because you're interviewing them. So I don't understand that. Like how you're just kissing, just because you're doing an interview, you got to kiss their ass. What is that? Placating, kowtowing? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. You are the real Wizard of Oz, right? Because me, Damian Eccles, I am a warlock and a wizard. And I followed the yellow brick road. And he's actually quite intelligent psychopath, sociopath that makes him that more dangerous. Yeah. And I'm assuming very Machiavellian too. I'm not sure what channel I saw it on. It was a short on YouTube and was steam cleaning at the time, but there were many coincidences. Gave me an uncomfortable feeling. It's probably designed to do that. Yep. Project Mockingbird, demon possession, astral planing. Astral projection. What up? What up? Since they are paying for the DNA privately, does that mean they don't have to disclose the findings? That's a good question. Well, if they don't disclose them, that kind of gives away their motive. All three had to agree to the testing and paying for it. Calls it yoga of the West. He implies he was doing rituals, but goes around the word itself. Yeah, that reminds me of Dave McCain. Didn't Jesse admit seeing the kids were... Yeah, Jesse confessed in great detail. Even after he was convicted, he would come to his lawyer and tell him things like, hey, I remember some other stuff. And they would ask him, well, what do you remember? He said, well, when we were over there after we committed the murder or before the murder, we did this or we did that. In one instance, he even referenced the exact brand of a whiskey bottle and where to find it. And sure enough, together, the prosecution and the defense attorneys for Jason and Damien went out there and they found this bottle exactly where he said it would be. And he was low IQ, yes. That's why he got the time of day wrong, the locations wrong. Anything that had to do with like geolocating and anything to do with mathematics, he's not gonna recall it correctly. That's the low IQ part of it. But him to just tap into exactly what he remembers, that's very easy for him because he was there and he saw it. And you can hear it in his voice. He's not being coerced to say it. He seems even relieved. And I have his confession on my channel if you guys want to go watch it. It's like an hour long. He's just giving detail after detail. He mentioned something about spending 8 hours in prison each day, trying to enlighten himself. He implies, but he's very nuanced about it. Yeah, we know what he was doing. Okay, so we've talked about the ice shooter, Travis Decker, a little bit of West Memphis 3, Charlie Kirk, and we can continue to talk about any of those items as we go along. But now I want to talk a little bit about the Evansdale murder case. It's going to be one of 3 cases that we highlight today. Put that up on the screen here. It's like a photograph of Lyric and Elizabeth. To wait years for the results. I mean, it should be any day now, right? From my understanding, it's 4 to 6 weeks. We should be right there. Scorpio, any news on that one? Not really. Not as of this morning. Okay. So it says here, StarMix software implementation is what they're using. In April of 2025, the DCI Crime Lab began using StarMix, a software program designed to analyze and separate DNA mixtures containing multiple profiles. This technology allows for a more detailed examination of minor DNA components, which could be crucial in identifying potential suspects. The DCI Crime Lab has produced 30 reports related to this case, with 20 of those reports stemming from the new DNA testing. This is a significant increase compared to typical cases, indicating the depth of analysis being applied. Despite these advancements, the case remains unsolved. Investigators continue to follow up on leads and analyze evidence, aiming to bring closure to the families involved.
It is one of the most notorious unsolved cases in Iowa. 13 years ago this week, two young cousins were abducted.
Hold on.
No offense, but if you're paying more than $30 a month on car insurance, you're getting ripped off.
Most notorious unsolved cases in Iowa. 13 years ago this week, two young cousins were abducted while on a bike ride in Evansdale. There are still no arrests in their deaths. KCCI's Laura Terrell got an inside look on where the case stands today and how the DCI crime lab is using new technology to try to catch the killer.
Her smile, her love for life. Like, she just loved life. She could be in trouble and she still would be smiling.
Hey,
It's been
Drew.
13 years since Drew and Heather Collins have seen their daughter Elizabeth smile in person.
We've missed a lot. My kids have missed out on their sister. Lyric's family's missed out on her.
Divorced now, they sit side by side in this interview with the same goal.
We just want justice. Those
I like
girls
that.
deserve justice.
For more than a decade, they've waited for answers that never come.
Every day to me is just kind of like a nightmare.
Best friends since they were babies, cousins Elizabeth and Lyric.
Oh, wow. Look at that. That's crazy. Together to the end.
Did everything together, including that bike ride on July 13th, 2012.
I said, we have to call the police right now. I said, something's not right. I said,
You could feel
we
it.
need to call them right now.
When 10-year-old Lyric and 8-year-old Elizabeth did not return home, police scoured Evansdale and eventually found their bikes right here in this remote part of the trail behind Myers Lake.
It's covered with trees. You can't hear anything. It's the perfect place to take a couple kids.
Elizabeth's
Ambush
favorite
point.
purse thrown over this
Just like
chain
Delphi.
link fence.
He sent me a picture and asked me if
Very similar to Delphi right here, right? So let's say you walked the entire trail and you're parked somewhere over here and you're a little ways away from the trails, right? Maybe in the neighborhood, just like Richard Allen. Not saying they're connected, but through what happened during these crimes, they are connected because they're very similar. Think about it. You park your car somewhere nearby, kind of like the CPS building, not too far, but away from the crime scene. You walk the entirety of the trail. You find a location where you can see everything. Like, hey, nobody new has entered the trails from this direction or this direction. That leaves me at least 10 minutes, no matter what, to do what I need to do, which is abduct two young girls. So he would just have to wait. Maybe he was looking for a woman, young kids, or actually lured Lyric and Elizabeth to this location for the intense purpose of kidnapping and killing them.
that was hers. I just was like, they're gone.
5 months later, hunters found the girls' bodies in a remote wooded area.
Okay, the girls were found by hunters. Look at this area. Look how remote it is. This is kind of like somebody living in, let's say, Evansdale, Waterloo, or whatever, and they get drawn for hunting, or they've been given permission to hunt in a certain area, or not permission, or let's just say camping, fishing. This is a perfect location for that. The girls were found by hunters who were walking through brush that was taller than them. Right? They were trailblazing through there, and then they found the girls right there. So whoever killed Lyric and Elizabeth, they're an outdoors person. They're familiar with this area. Why would they select this location? Because it's familiar to them. That's why. Dark Side. Evansdale seems like the person would have done something like that again since the crime. I wonder if the killers are dead or in prison. Yeah, it's possible. There's been some cases that I've covered where it's a one and done. You know, for whatever reason, they committed this crime and never had the opportunity to do it again. But I hope when they run the DNA that, unfortunately, I hope that the person responsible is in the system, which means that they would have had to have committed some other crime in the past, right? A felony, which is unfortunate, but this case needs to be solved. And the likelihood of them committing other murders or crimes is very high, in my opinion. Since they will say it costs thousands and they can't test everything. And to a degree, sometimes testing, it will destroy it. So they only get one chance. So they want to hold on until there's a way. Well, the truth is here in the United States, if we can get Congress to put something together where we can get it passed into law, all they'll do is fit it into the funding, into the budget. But we have to vote it in. And that's something I would definitely vote for, is mandatory testing on archived DNA samples and cold cases, like every single one. Just don't stop until they're all done. But not in a sloppy, reckless way, in a very, if they need to take their time, that's fine. But just don't stop testing, Just keep it moving along. To test it with the best chances of a result, but as soon as it becomes available, the state should pay to resolve cold cases, etc. Yeah, they should. And we need to make sure we get the funds allocated, in that direction. It's a government entity. It's not public. It's something, either that or you do it privately. But it's hard to work with DNA, I'm assuming, as part of the public trying to get your hands on the DNA, right? It has to go through the chain of custody, because everything eventually is going to end up in a courtroom or in the middle of some type of legal dispute. And the private sector can create issues with that, I think. Pitbull says, I would vote for mandatory testing. Mandatory testing, boom. And more funding for private entities who want to create like a nonprofit. They get all their funding from the government, and then whenever there's a missing person case, they mobilize and they go out and they help local law enforcement with searching, expertise with drones, a shit ton of off-road vehicles, maybe even a few people with on horseback, but a lot of drone pilots, trained people who aren't afraid to get into the thick of it. Because that's how I was. I would go hiking all the time, camping, mountain climbing, and there wasn't anything too rough. There was one time I had to crawl, basically bent over for 2 miles to get through this weird collection of these trees it was basically small trees that were extremely thick, but up about 3 to 4 feet up, there was a clearing, and I pulled all my tackle, all my fishing gear through that shit. It was a nightmare. But there's people that aren't, they don't shy away from that. You get your thick jeans on and your boots, cover your arms and your face, and you just go through the brush. You'll probably get torn up, but I don't know. That was just part of it. But I'd like to see something like that. The government putting more funding towards that. Companies, I would love for that to be what Sleuth Intuition was all about. Boom, we just mobilize, we all get out there, everybody's working together. We have, all the professionals that we have the funding for to go out there, and we'll just keep it organized. We'll keep track of what cases need to be, what needs attention. And then we'll just kind of send our army out there. We'll mobilize them and send them out to help with the searching, sonar, like in the water, in the sky. I'm not big on psychics, but hey, throw some psychics out there. Whatever it takes.
About 20 miles outside of town.
I have a few people on my list that makes good sense. It could be them.
Drew firmly believes the killer is someone local who knows the area well. But 13 years later, still no arrests.
Why do you think this case is so difficult to solve?
That's a good question.
DCI agent
That's a
Scott
good
Rieger
question.
is in charge of this case. He says while double child abductions are rare, police are often
I'll tell you why this case is hard to solve. Because we don't understand the mind of a sadistic psychopath. We don't understand how somebody could do this. And even they don't know, right? They've been tormented and tortured by something. A lot of them refer to it as a demon or some kind of demonic presence within themselves. And oftentimes even ask it for permission to do things. Or if there's going to be any apology, it needs to come from them. Or if the killing needs to stop, it's up to the demonic part of their whatever's going on inside them to stop the killing, not them. They're not responsible for it. So either they're actually possessed, or this is the way the psychopath doesn't have to take responsibility, right? It wasn't me. It was the demon. I'm possessed by a demon. You know how that goes. They want to go around doing all kinds of shit. They don't have to take any responsibility for it. But the truth is, they could be hiding in plain sight, like Scorpio Rising is saying, compartmentalized. They can go home and go to sleep. And even when they tell stories and relive it and talking to people about, I'm so, it's devastating what happened to those poor girls in Evansdale, but them actually being the killer. But while they're having these discussions, in their mind, they're not the killer. They've completely compartmentalized that part of them that even for a moment in time, they forget that they are the actual killer. It's crazy.
Inundated with a massive amount of tips right away.
When you get a lot of information at the same time, it's not to stay focused. It's hard to be focused on one particular lead and really run that to ground.
Rieger says they have followed up on 2,000 leads in this case. 5 investigators are.
So once again, is Evansdale connected to Delphi? No, it's not, right? It just mathematically, it's not likely. Could it be? Yes, not likely. But it is connected as far as the types of folks that did it, right? Richard Allen, convicted of killing 2 young teenage girls, extremely compartmentalized. Went home, took a nap, woke up and went to work the next day and was able to remove himself from it because he probably got some kind of satisfaction or what he needed from it. He's probably fantasized about doing this for quite some time. And for whatever reason, it was preceded by a stressful event. And we now know, if you do your homework, mid-2016 all the way through 2017 was extremely stressful for Richard Allen. You can see he looks like he was addicted to drugs, malnourished, drinking heavily, very skinny. Even in the wedding photos with his daughter, he doesn't look well. But then in 2018, boom, he's in great shape. It looks like he stopped drinking. He's got color back into his skin, and he's on top of a fucking mountain. So I don't want anybody to talk to me about, he's got a heart condition, he can't do this. This dude is lugging a fucking backpack filled with gear to one of the largest mountains I've fucking ever seen. He's on the peak of this fucking thing. So I don't want to hear that shit about Richard Allen. It's the same thing here with Evansdale. This person might have a family, might have kids of his own, might be a police officer. You know what I mean? What makes these psychopaths do what they do? That's why it's so hard to solve this case, because this person could be hiding in plain sight, compartmentalized, keeping his sadistic fantasies separate from some kind of normalcy that he's trying to portray.
We're still actively working it
Or she.
today.
He
Do
or
you
she.
have people of interest?
I never commented on like, hey, we have people of interest, here's a suspect. We regularly get names of people. Sometimes they're people we've already vetted. Sometimes they're different individuals.
Even 13 years later, Rieger believes time is on their side when it comes to catching the killer or killers.
There's things that you can do now in 2025 that we weren't able to do down, in 2020 or 2012.
You can actually see where the stains are.
KCCI got a rare look inside the DCI crime lab, where scientists are using the newest technology to try to solve this case. That includes upgraded alternative light sources to examine evidence. Criminalist Alex Hager uses fake evidence to show us.
Now you can see easily where some of these stains are.
Perhaps the most important new technology in the lab is a software program called StarMix.
So they spell it StarMix, capital STR, and then lowercase MIX. Can you see that? So if any of you wanted to kind of look into it further, well, that wasn't helpful. So capital S, capital T, capital R, and then no space, lowercase MIX.
Since April, they've used it to separate out mixtures that contain DNA from multiple people.
So now we're able to say much more about a minor component of a DNA in a mixture, which quite often is the really probative evidence or the important part of the mixture that we need.
Criminalists also have upgraded machines to extract DNA from physical evidence. That means they can pull DNA from samples that are degraded from being out in the weather.
The instruments now are more sensitive, more capable than they would have been in 2012.
For the first time, we are learning how much DNA has been.
I mean, look at this area. This is a dirt road right here. And there's a small town just over the hill, too. Just through these trees is a small town. It has a high school and everything.
And tested in the Evansdale case. Halverson says the DCI crime lab has written 30 reports. 20 of those include results of DNA testing on evidence that has been collected from the crime scenes.
You guys have a lot of evidence, essentially.
Yes, it is a lot, very much so. A typical case, a general run-of-the-mill case, will just have one report.
Scientists develop a DNA profile which looks like this, peaks on a piece of paper. They then compare those to known samples to try to develop investigative leads.
Do you think this case is solvable?
Absolutely.
Rieger says persistence will solve this case. He's not giving up, and neither are Drew and Heather Collins.
This person is still out there, and are they going to do it again?
Elizabeth would have turned 22 years old this year. Lyric, 24. Their young faces now permanently smile on benches and plaques not far from where they disappeared.
We're not going to slow down. We're going to keep going until the day we die.
Those girls really, really deserve
Yes.
justice.
So we are eagerly awaiting those results, and we're praying for answers for Lyric and Elizabeth. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to bring some attention to the Flora fires in Indiana. As far as I know, there are no new updates as far as July 2025. That was when the FBI and Indiana State Police conducted door-to-door interviews in Flora. They were seeking new information from residents. Investigators, they did emphasize that even seemingly minor details could be crucial in solving the case, which is true. Like, oh, kind of like Kelsey. Oh, now I remember there was an SUV with like decals on the back window. You know, some things will just pop back in your mind, like Jesse Miss Kelly. Like, oh, I forgot we broke a bottle under an overpass when we were leaving the crime scene. STR mix has been around for years. Yeah, that's what they're using in Evansdale right now. But if people are interested, that's how you spell it, just like J Ray put it on there. STRMIX. Very interesting. Okay. The tragic. Here, let's. Oh, that's a new photo. Hold on. Oh, shit. That's not what I meant to do. So I pulled up the photo I wanted, and then I just closed it out. What in the Sam hell's going on around here? Dark Side says praying. Yeah, everybody needs to be praying. I really agree with your theory on the Flora fires. I pray that Flora will be solved. Yeah, my number one suspect is Adam Ayers. The tragedy involving the four sisters occurred in Flora, Indiana. Sorry, I'm trying to respond to somebody. So this one's cute right here. Looks like Halloween. Looks like right around the time this happened. This must have been the Halloween just before. Okay. So the Flora, Indiana fire that tragically claimed the lives of four young sisters, Kiana Davis, Kiara Phillips, Carrie L. McDonald, and Kiani Welch. This took place November 21st, 2016. It remains unsolved nearly a decade later. And after conducting my investigation, the number one person of interest for me was Adam Ayers. And I have no clue if the FBI has taken a look at him or not. But he's sitting right there in a prison. If they want to talk to him, he's in custody. What will it hurt to just go sit down with him and ask him, hey, did you have anything to do with this? Because he's connected to that house. He's connected to the owners of the house. And he's a sadistic, psychotic criminal. Not only that, he was there. He had opportunity, potentially motive, and even on camera was doing a bunch of odd things. He was breaking out the girls' windows. Like almost like he was panicking, like, oh, I didn't mean to kill these girls. I meant to start the fire, but I didn't mean to kill anybody. So he was almost like panicking, like it was self-preservation. So I just hope that they're actually following up leads. I didn't get any response. I didn't get any follow-up. The fire occurred in a multi-unit apartment building at 103 East Columbia Street in Flora. So it started out as a home, and then it was repurposed and rented out to be a multi-dwelling structure, multiple dwellers. A small town in Carroll County. The girls perished in their upstairs bedrooms, while their mother, Galen Rose, and two police officers sustained non-life-threatening injuries during the rescue efforts. Investigators later determined fire was intentionally set, classifying it as an arson. The Indiana State initially led the investigation with assistance from Carroll County Sheriff's Department, Flora Police Department, and fire investigators from the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. Despite extensive efforts, no arrests have been made, and the case remains open. In July of 2025, the Federal Bureau of Investigation joined the investigation, conducting door-to-door interviews in Flora to gather new leads. An FBI spokesperson indicated that the agency had opened its own investigation after receiving reports related to the arson, working along the ISP. So no updates in the Flora case at this time. No, Sensei, I haven't. I think there's a good chance he's the person that set this fire. He seems like somebody that could be easily manipulated or talked into setting the fire, maybe for somebody else. He was living in a very stressful point of his life. No job, couldn't pay the rent in his home, right? Men, that's upsetting to them. If you can't pay your bills and things like that, it gets extremely stressful. There was a man, a missing persons case. A man had recently married a woman from another country. He was a business owner. He had like 10 employees, very successful. And he went missing. A lot of people suspected his wife. A lot of people suspected, maybe there was somebody trying to get at his money. But the truth was that after they conducted their investigation, they found that there was nothing strange with his finances. Everything, he had never been late on any one of his bills his entire life. His credit was impeccable. But people need to understand it's hard to achieve that. The amount of stress it would take to say, like, you know what, I'm not going to allow one bill to be late. It takes a lot of integrity there. That's a huge weight to carry for some people. So this man actually took his own life. He had a beautiful new wife, successful business, big home, multiple cars, but he was hurting inside. Nobody knew it. Kept it to himself, and the burden was just too much. Get something new from her. Yeah, I'm glad that they're conducting these interviews. I just hope that they're following up on all these tips. Because Adam Ayers, he was there. He was there when it happened. He was up when it happened. If anybody knew that back door, you couldn't lock it, from my understanding. If anybody knew that you could get in through that back door, he would. That's where the fire was lit, back near the mudroom and parts of the kitchen. So whoever did this was familiar with that home. Why not just kick in the front door and light it on fire? Adam Ayers, all he had to do was walk out his front door, take 4 steps to the left, walk through a gate, take 4 more steps, open the back door, take 4 more steps into the house, dump a bunch of liquid all over the place, light it, and then take 12 steps back to his front door. And it was his wife, right? It was his wife that called police. Well, she called the homeowner first. Who does that? Right? She called the homeowner, but she was the one to first hear Galen. And why was she the one to hear Galen at 3-something a.m. in the morning? Well, she told law enforcement in an affidavit that's documented in an affidavit that she was already awake. She said, I was already awake, and then I suddenly heard screams coming from outside. Well, why was she already awake? Because of her dipshit husband, who's a meth addict, who's unemployed, who's keeping her up at night. So if he's acting a fool, who's to say he didn't just go light that fire? Maybe somebody paid him to light the fire. If that was the case, it sure as hell backfired because Galen sued the shit out of him. So that didn't really work. But then again, if Adam was paid to light that fire, his intentions most likely were not to kill these 4 young girls. And that would easily explain why you see him panicking outside the dash cam footage. You can see him panicking, running around the house. He's breaking out windows, with rocks, because his arson case just turned into a quadruple homicide case, potentially. Yep, he had opportunity, potential motive. He's familiar with the crime scene. If you add everything up, he's the guy, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I just hope that they interview him and talk with him. That doesn't mean stop looking for who else might have done this, because there's no real proof. He just fits the bill. You know, if we run the criminology, the victimology, the typology, and look at who he was as an individual and why he's in prison now, this guy is sick. He's very violent. He's obviously a sadistic psychopath after what he did to his wife. I mean, there's no doubt about that he could be responsible for this fire, and he could have done it just out of anger. Some killers, this is how they start, with arson. There was a case that we followed of a serial killer. He had killed, I think, 6 women and turned himself in. But before he did that, he was responsible for burning down a condo. That was his first act, attempted murder, burnt, using arson. So maybe he did. Maybe this was his first, his fledgling attempt at murder. He was a known meth addict also. Recently in Phoenix, I think it happened last night, there was a meth head who was picked up, him and his girlfriend. He had been up for 3 days straight, was high on meth, and for reasons he doesn't even know. He has no clue why he did it. He killed his Uber driver. He shot him, I don't know, like a handful of times right through the chair for no fucking reason. So maybe this guy lit this fire for some kind of weird reason that he's not fully even understanding at this time. He has history there. That home used to belong to his grandfather. So as a child, he played in that home. I'm telling you, he's a good suspect. And he's already in custody. So he's not hard to find. All right, guys, unfortunately, we are out of time. I will be going out to see the crime scene in the area relating to the Emily Pike case. I'm going to take you guys out there. We're going to try to meet with the investigators there on the San Carlos Indian Reservation and see what they have to say. Maybe we can get an interview with them, take you on a tour through the reservation, through Globe, and then over to where her body was dumped. And then we'll even do some of our own searching, because they haven't found parts of her body yet. And that tells me that there were multiple dump sites. It has to be somewhere nearby. Either that, or they attempted to burn her first, found that, were unsuccessful in doing that, and then decided to dump the body. That happens. I know it sounds sick, but that's the thought process of a sadistic killer. All right, they commit the murder, and then it's like, now what? Now what do I do? And it's always the same thing: dismemberment, try to burn, or dump on the side of a highway or at a dump site. And it always tells us something about the perpetrator. Why did they select that location? How far did they drive to finally say, okay, this spot looks good? All those things we try to learn through reverse engineering. J. Ray, Lori Clayton, what's up? Oh, yeah, there's a lot of meth here in Arizona. I think if you look at any state, I think we all suffer from that. It's a pandemic. All right, so that's what you can expect from my channel. We're going to go out there and we're going to do some digging for Emily Pike, see if we can draw some attention, maybe get some new information, and we'll be boots on the ground for that. So if anybody wants to donate for gas money and get themselves involved, you don't have to, but I know some of you like to be involved in that. That's always welcomed. And for those of you who can't donate, just hit the like button or share the video. And then also we're doing, I put together a little project for my viewers, my members, and people that have been supporting my channel for a few years now. We're going to go to all of the major areas of the Phoenix Valley, the nightlife, you know, where they're out at the bars, kind of like Whiskey Rose. And we're going to talk to strangers. We're going to go out there when they're a little bit tipsy, late at night, and we're going to ask them true crime related questions and get into some true crime related conversations. Should be very interesting. So you guys can look forward to that in the very, very near future. And also me going out there to do some digging in the Emily Pike case. So hopefully you guys will tune in for that. And we'll give you a close-up on what's really going on with these cases. And also we got some new merch. So if you're looking to get a hoodie, let me know. Just send me an email and I'll tell you how to get your hands on it. All right, guys, I'll see you again real soon. Take care of yourselves.